Yeah. Uptown.
Yeah, yo, we kicking it live. Vince and Stevie D, OWSports Podcast is the place to be. Bills Mafia, repping the red, white, and blue. No doubt with Josh Allen, just stand up and shout. Gang Green, coming with that New York flair. Jets in the mix, you know they taking it there. The rivalry is fierce, but they keep it 100. Legends in the making, pressure never stunted. From MetLife to Highmark, bright lights when the night's dark. Touchdown, dream, steel beams, leave a big spark. Bills and Jets, we clash on the field, but on this podcast, we keep it sealed. Respect for the game, we all in the zone. Vince and Stevie D, we holding our own. So tune in tight, don't miss a beat. OW Sports, where the real ones meet. Sit back.
It's OW Sports, the fastest growing podcast about the Buffalo Bills and New York Jets. You get the best takes, the most engaging interviews, and they are always keeping it real. So sit back, relax, and get ready to talk some NFL. Now here's your hosts, Vince and Stevie D.
And welcome back to another edition of Official Word Sports. I'm Vince. I'm here with my co-host, Stevie D. I don't even know who this guy is because I haven't seen him for, about 2 months, 2 years? I don't know what it's been. All of a sudden, he just shows up knocking at the door. Will work for food. I was like, hey, come on in. I need a co-host. There he is. There's my man, Stevie D.
Good to be back. Good to be back.
Well, we're glad to have
you. I've been all around the world, literally. I feel like I've been in every time zone.
Jet setting, that you have. Things have changed around here, Stevie D. As you can see, we've done a little redecorating, right? Sometimes when you leave, we decide to make some changes, right? Yeah. And so, I'm going to uncover some more changes that, may catch you off guard a little bit later on. We did have you back for the roundtable on Monday, which was a great show. Enjoyed the commentary and the insights. You had Lou and then we had Bob, which I have to tell you, originally I thought Bob was a Bills fan. He comes on and he's like, well, I follow the Bills, right? But it was great to have him because in a way it's the same when I have you here, right? Because you get the outside commentary. I'm so mired deep within the Bills and all that we do, and we're going to talk about all that we do for sure. But sometimes it's a breath of fresh air to have a take from the outside.
Yeah, it was great. I just, when he starts talking about my Yankees because he's a Met fan, then I kept it cordial there.
Well, we talk about how we have the dog days. It's going to be interesting because I am definitely going to call Bob. Hey, Bob, I need you on. Oh, by the way, Stevie D, while you were gone, we had a little surgery, as you can see. Had a little surgery. So,
yeah.
It's tough when you put your hand through a television because of a bad officiating call. And no, that's not really what it was for. Everybody always asks, what did you do? Well, now I kind of have a good excuse, right? I got something I can roll with. I can say, well, here's what happened, right? Brandon Cooks was being held on the side, right? Or Josh Allen and the Bills coaching staff decided to go for, inexcusably why, but decided to go for a play with 15 seconds on the clock, no timeouts and from your own 20, right? Those situations, a hand could go through a television, right? So, that's going to be my new story. But Stevie D, a lot going on, right? We have coaches galore that have been fired.
Oh, yeah.
We have the divisional games are over, so now we're on to the championship round, right? And so we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. And then And then there was how do you say that? We got kids out here. It's the bleep show that took place in Orchard Park. Right? That's what it was. And thank goodness I have something here, and I will be in excruciating pain if I bang this hand down. And this is the one closest. What the bleep was going on? The fact that we didn't have anything that was being said was probably the best thing. When I have to listen to Jerry Jones and say, well, that seems kind of logical from Jerry compared to what I heard today, what in the world is going on, Stevie D? I have no clue. The good thing, maybe the voice of reason for me is you as well, but we also have Rob from Cover 2 Podcast. And Rob, it's so good to have you on. We need you to help me, or maybe both of us team up on Stevie D, and Stevie D can help the both of us, because that nonsense was absolutely ridiculous. Welcome, Rob. Glad. You are now.
You want to be on camera. Oh,
there we go.
You want to be on camera. Okay.
There he is. There he is. All right. Yeah, Rob. All right. So, Stevie, let's just cut to the chase. I say it with my head held down. I'm embarrassed to be a Bills fan. I'm wearing the Sabres hat. And granted, the Bills season's ended and the Sabres are playing great, so I'm wearing a Sabres hat. But all right, Stevie D, if you will indulge the better part of this conversation today, right? I'm asking early on because there's so much to get into, right? And I feel like this is going to be one of those movies, right? You ever watch the movie where they show the conclusion in the beginning and then they go back in time and then you kind of see how you got to the conclusion and then they wrap it up? That's what today's show is going to be. The conclusion was, what was it, 54 minutes of an owner and general manager that spent the last 24 to 36 hours trying to come up with some logical, in their mind, talking points for when they got up there. Now, when they actually sat at the podium, Pegula read off a prepared statement that lasted probably about 2 minutes. Brandon Beane kind of went off the cuff, and he lasted about 5 minutes. Right, so you got about 7 minutes, and 5 may be a little too long. And then they opened it up for the media. Big mistake. They should have stopped there and got up and left. Because to start with, Pegula gives this, again, kids, if you're watching, I'm sorry, because I'm going to say some stuff, and even though this isn't that bad, gave some half-ass thank you to Sean McDermott. I have been calling for Sean McDermott to be fired for the last, 5 years now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But all that he has done, I have recognized what he's done. I just also recognize where he needs to grow, and I don't have the time to allow him to grow under the clock that is ticking with Josh Allen. I don't have that. That's why I said he had to go. Not because I don't like him for his character, and not that I don't like him for his defensive mind, and not that I don't like how he changed that locker room.
Right.
Those are big key pieces there.
They are.
They are. They are, Rich. I mean,
Yeah.
And so then, as we go through, as we go through, and you listen to Pegula, it was almost like he was forced to say, well, I want to say thank you to Sean. What? This man just resurrected the franchise that you bought that was the laughing stock of the league. Every time you would bring up a Buffalo Bill, they would say, well, you haven't made the playoffs for the last 12 years, 13 years, 16 years, 17 years. This man changed the culture. And you and I, Stevie D, we talk about this. We talk about there's levels of coaching. You have the laughingstock coaches that are out there that can't get out of their own way. We know who they are. Then you have that next step, those coaches that rebuild that culture and get you back on track. But they have a ceiling. And that ceiling doesn't allow them to get to the championship or get to the Super Bowl. And you need to get that coach that has that dog in him.
Yep.
That coach that can command, but also has people around him that can command and get to the top. Whether it be the likes of like a Gruden or like a Belichick or like a Parcells, right? They got that in them. Jimmy Johnson, another one, he's got it in him to get you over the top. And if you don't have that guy, you're always going to be like a Marvin Lewis, like a Mike Tomlin, like a Sean McDermott. You're going to be like that. So that's why he had to go.
Yeah.
Because we want to get here.
Right.
But you can thank him because he got you from there.
Yes.
And what you did was a disservice and a slap in the face to Sean McDermott. And then comes the lies. And then you got Brandon Beane, and we're going to talk about this. You got Brandon Beane sitting right next to him, his co-conspirator sitting right there saying, oh, I want to echo what Mr. Pegula said about Sean and all. And we go back to Carolina, and our families are good friends. Yeah, not anymore. Don't lie to me. I need to take a drink. I'll let you guys go. It's going to be a long one.
Well said. We share a lot of the same sentiments, but to me, this was a lot of finger pointing when all three are culpable. You can look back onto this for a while, and I think when I say all three, you've got to include ownership in this. It's been 9 seasons of the process. What coaching staff gets 9 seasons to get over the hump? That's very rare. So on one half, you can say kudos to Pegula to giving this a chance. Kudos for McDermott and Beane for drafting Josh Allen and taking this a step to, get us to relevancy for several different seasons. But along the line, each of those steps, as you say, there's been failures when it's come to the playoffs, and it's been losses of 3 points almost every time. But you can find a slew of reasons, and this doesn't point to one person. And it just you really feel like you have empathy now for Sean McDermott, regardless of how you felt before the firing. So there just seems like there are a lot of sides within the fan base here that are siding with either or. Now it really seems to be a landslide towards Sean McDermott.
Yeah. You know, Rob, and like I was telling Stevie D, and I really wanted to bring focus here for you, and that's why we were going here. Stevie D's a Jet fan, so he's going to play the mediator for us right in the background for a minute.
Yeah, perfect guy for that.
So you've touched on some things. I've touched on some things. Let's go back from today, right? And I want your opinion, but also I'm going to share some feedback here. When you look at what has transpired over the last 6 months or so, okay? And we have to be detectives, right? And I ask everybody to be a detective. Don't always look at what's in front of you and say, oh, that's the truth, right? You have to be smarter than that. So what we saw over the last 6 months as a detective, we saw Brandon Beane on one side, and completely on the other side, we would see Sean McDermott. I'm talking about at training camp. Who was standing together at training camp? It was Pegula and Beane.
Right.
We saw it in Hard Knocks.
Yep.
Now go back a year ago. They had Bills embedded in all the other videos. Who would we see standing together? Pegula, Beane, and McDermott. Who would we see the year before? Pegula, Beane, and McDermott. Right. Why all of a sudden was there separation? Now, they were professional enough so that when they gave interviews and when they talked, that they gave the appearance that it was the happy family.
Mm-hmm.
But inside the house, we had no idea of the dysfunction that was going on.
Right.
But you could surmise from certain things. You follow me there?
100%.
So then we look at, as we go forward, we look at the construct of the team. Now, the Max Harrison pick, it's a good pick, right? He value on the board, it's a good pick. We were at a deficit at corner. He definitely fit the bill. So I don't think that there's anything to talk about there. But then we start to look at things that happened throughout the season. One of the glaring were the statements that were made by Sean McDermott. And if you know where I'm going, the statements where he started talking about Jacoby Myers. Right?
Yeah, towards the trade deadline.
There you go. There you go. You could see that the offense wasn't performing the way that they wanted to. But you listen to McDermott, and he's praising and lauding Jacoby Myers and all he could do and his blocking and all this, right? And you can also hear when he was asked, he said, I love these guys. I love this team.
Yep.
Again, let's be the detectives. Let's put 1 and 1, and now we're at 2, right? And we're putting 2 and 2, and now we're at 4. Then you look at the trade deadline. And I said this during the roundtable. You look at the trade deadline, and all of a sudden, during the trade deadline, nothing happens. And then when the criticism comes out because nothing happened, we hear this report, this mysterious report, that the Bills were in on Jalen Roddy, and that the Dolphins wanted a 2026 draft pick.
Mm-hmm.
But we were willing to give a 2027.
Yep.
Logic. I want you to, this is to you, Rob. Logic, because I know what I think.
Okay.
Well, hold on. If I have a team, here's the question for you. If I have a team that I believe is championship ready, and I believe the piece that I'm missing or the pieces that I'm missing are with a wide receiver, am I going to be so hung up on a 2026 draft pick versus a 2027?
You make the move. You do it. You give up your 26. He's worth the first round. The only problem we had at the time is we didn't have the cap space, so he was going to have to make some moves in order to
sure. And that's what Terry Johnson did, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Which, if I'm Terry Johnson, I'm livid. I'm livid.
Mm-hmm. But so, to your point, without question, you make the move. You're in a championship year, okay? This is look at the path. This is the expectation from training camp, hard knocks. You look at that season because the schedules are given out ahead of time, okay? They had their toughest games at home. They play better at home, especially in the playoffs. They were 0-6 coming into the playoffs on the road, okay? When you start adding up all the equations, you start to see Kansas City start to fail this year. You see Jackson-less Baltimore Ravens team after week 1. All it starts adding up. These expectations are getting higher and higher and higher about that road to the playoffs. But yet you had New England sneaking around with the easier schedule, winning the games they should, and we weren't. We were going up the roller coaster of games. It was taking Allen getting into the blue tent, coming out with the cape on. And so at the back half of these were games of 2 different halves, of a crappy first half and, okay, here comes Josh. We got 8 minutes left. Let's see if he can do it. How many games do we have of that? And then the inexcusable Atlanta game, even that, Stevie, didn't that Jets not beat Atlanta?
Yes, we beat them.
Okay, so there you go. So
and almost beat Denver, by the way. Let's just put that out there. Should be Denver.
I know.
But okay,
let's
go ahead, Steve.
For a quick second about that trade. I don't know a GM in any sport, I'll say US-based sport because I really don't follow international teams, that is on the cusp of having a championship roster that doesn't make the trade to bring in the quality of Waddle for a first-round pick. The Waddle is proven. Any pick is not proven. I don't care if you're 1-2 or picking 28, 29. Hopefully, 32, right?
Yep.
If you win it. So the Dolphins get a 32 pick. I know it's a first-round pick, but still, you have a proven commodity. And prospects are prospects. That's what they are. What's what they call them. They're a prospect. They're unproven. So you're talking about a draft pick that you have no idea it's going to blossom or not, to somebody who can step in right now, and off you go with a legitimate one.
Let me ask you guys. Let me ask you guys this question. As you say that, in the event, say everything changes. In the event you make the trade, you give up your 2026 draft pick. You win the Super Bowl. Just saying that you do. Do you even care who you're drafting in the 2026 draft? You are so high on the fact that you won the Super Bowl, your first one, that it's going to last. Bills fans, we just don't want to win one game, but I could care less. We're going to be so ecstatic.
So stay with me on here. Why you don't care that you don't have the first round pick in the 26th draft? It's because you have Waddle on your roster that's taking that place of that pick.
You're right.
In a wide receiver, and I don't have to train the person. I don't have to guess can the guy catch? Can he run around right? I got a proven commodity.
You're so right.
No-brainer. It's a no-brainer from that. Now, could you have made the money work and shift enough money around that? I can't speak to that.
Well, you'd find a way, okay? You'd find a way to do it. And I want to add to your point, Stevie. Who was Stephon Diggs before he came here?
He was
a wide receiver too.
He was a talented receiver.
He was. I'm not really taking away from him. I'm going to add to your point. So essentially, he hadn't made a single Pro Bowl in 5 seasons in Minnesota. And look at how he shined with Allen. We got to see the real Diggs, okay? Now imagine what he could do with Waddle.
Sure, I can go there, sure, all day long with that, right? What he could do with Waddle. And think about Waddle's energy to have a quarterback that can put it anywhere on the field and not can out-throw anything. So if I got the speed to burn, Josh Allen's got the arm to get it there, right? So it's mind-blowing that he didn't make that trade. It makes me sick.
So now it makes no sense, absolutely no sense that you're haggling between the 26 and 27. He was still willing to give up a first-round pick.
Right.
Between
make it make sense.
And I'm not saying that Waddle was going to be the one to take us over the top, because I still go back to it's the guy that's sitting up in the box that's calling the plays, that we don't know that he would have put Waddle in the position to catch the ball downfield. We don't know that. Go ahead, Rob.
So, to your point, go back last year. This offense, the first few games of that season, we were stalling. Okay, it was supposedly everyone eats. Do you ever remember that one? Everyone eats? Everyone didn't eat until we brought Amari Cooper in, which is a subpar X, okay, at the end of his career. But it made a difference. You have an X, that changes your downfield philosophy tremendously. So you bring in Waddle, you start opening this offense up.
You do. Yeah, 100%. You bring in somebody that's going to command that attention, for sure.
Can you go back to Demetrius' comment for a second? I think that was Demetrius, right? That's a very good point that he's making there, right? Because in the city of Buffalo, to my knowledge, a sports team has not won they won an AFL, but they haven't won the Stanley Cup. They haven't won a Super Bowl, right? So you're so close with all the other teams out of the mix.
Hold on. We have won lacrosse.
MLS?
Many.
Yes, like 7 of them.
Yeah.
Dominant. The most dominant.
My apologies to the 15 people that watch MLS. My apologies.
No, it's popular here. Trust me.
Lacrosse
And we got
is
2. We have
popular in
Rochester
some regions.
and Buffalo. They're great.
Yeah, and lacrosse is very popular in certain parts of the country. There's no doubt.
Yep.
For the major 4 sports that are in the league, let me reclassify, right? How do you not, like, you're worried about 27. You'll be revered in this town forever if you deliver that trophy. The Sabres and the Bills that deliver that first one, you go down in history, in lore, in Buffalo lore. What are we doing, people?
I know.
That comment by Demetrius.
And you know what's funny about sportscaster talks when they talk about young talent? Like you're hearing Dre, like they're talking about, oh, how many Super Bowls are they going to win? We've got the best player in the league. He's proven that. People are finally on board with Allen being the player. We're lucky to make one. We'd be lucky to win one. When you're talking about how many has Brady won?
But all right, so hold on, Rob.
3.
We're connecting this spider web, right? So we started, and this spider web is growing, right? So now we got to the trade deadline, and we got nothing done by Brandon Beane. Do you think McDermott's a little upset? He is. Let's go after it. So what do? We start throwing darts to see what's going to stick. We go get Hardman. That doesn't stick, right? Elijah Moore, that never really worked out. By the way, Elijah Moore went to Denver. They activated him. I'm wondering what he said. I'm wondering if Joe Brady was smart enough to change anything. I digress. So then they go and they get Brandon Cooks. I wasn't happy with Brandon Cooks, but he proved out, to actually be serviceable and valuable to the Bills' offense.
Mm-hmm.
Now we start to get towards the end. Right? And as we get towards the end, it's the house of cards and everything came tumbling down. So now we start to think about what happened. How did we get here? So we've already kind of looked through the window, and we could see that there was some friction. We could see that there were some gaps. To your point earlier, Stevie D, when we were offline, we heard the report today that, and I'm not sure if it was Vic or who brought it up, talking about how McDermott about 5 weeks ago, start doing the math, at the trade deadline, had gone in and said, I don't have the talent. You don't have the talent for what? To win. Why are you complaining? Just hold that thought for a minute, Rob. Hold that thought. You don't have the talent, something that you haven't said before when you still didn't have the talent. But you didn't say it before. We know that there was a divide and we know that there was friction. Right? I'm going to tell you, Stevie D, I'm going to tell you, Rob, that this decision to fire Sean McDermott did not come when Terry Pegula said, I walked in the locker room and I saw Josh and he was in tears and I looked at the coaches and I looked at the other players and I realized I had to make a change. It did not come then. This came well before that because Terry, again, I don't like to call people out of their name, but the liar that you are, Terry Pegula, this decision came well before that. You wanted to say that because of the 13 seconds, because of the missed field goal, because of this, that's why you made the decision. Bull. If that really was the reason why you made the decision, you would have made the decision 4 years ago. When OWSports said make the termination.
Yeah.
But you kept going because you were happy of what you said. And let me recite what he said. He starts off his not his podcast, but his press conference with, let me ask you a question. Do you know what 523-2226 is? And he says, to the media, I'm asking you a question. Well, that's our seeding in the conference over the last 7 years. Well, Terry, who gives about the seeding? You can be seeded first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, or seventh and still win a championship. I don't care. What you should be concerned about is winning a Super Bowl. But you're so happy that the 17-year drought is over. And you're so happy that you won the AFC East and you're a division champion, which is a paper championship, that you want to start out a press conference to talk about your head coach being fired and the promotion of the BS GM to now president by saying, oh, we were seated 5th, 2nd, 3rd. Well, how about, Terry Pegula, what are the numbers 32, 32, 32, 32? What's that mean to you? Well, let me explain. That's when you win the Super Bowl where you're drafting. So why aren't you proud of drafting 32nd for the last 7 years? Don't give me that crap. Not at all. That's the dysfunction of this team. That's the dysfunction of this owner. And that's the dysfunction of the general manager and Brandon Beane. Ridiculous, but you lied. And I'm calling you a liar. I'm calling you out. If those other guys aren't going to call you out, I'm going to call you out because you lied to us. You lied to me. You lied to Stevie D. You lied to Rob. You lied to Demetrius. You lied to all of us. And you expect us to take it. You expect us to buy the jerseys. You expect us to buy the hats. You expect us to buy the tickets. And now the PSLs? And you lied to us. And you don't care about winning a championship. Don't give me that BS. You care about selling tickets, and you think that getting to the playoffs is good. And Stevie D, I have said it time and time and time again, that 17-year drought of making the playoffs was actually the root of all evil for the Buffalo Bills. Because the year that you get in, we saw the video. We saw when Andy Dalton in the touchdown pass, I think that was Boyd that caught that touchdown, and how everybody was excited, jumping up and down. People were hugging and kissing as if you won the Super Bowl. But you've made the playoffs the Super Bowl. And before I have a stroke over here, let me just say one more thing. Because I say this all the time. And we all know, if you're not first, you're last. It doesn't matter if you're the first one in the last place or the last one in the last place. You're last. So I could care less about an AFC division championship. I could care less about the seeding. What I care about is winning enough games to get into the second season and then going on a 2 or 3 game winning streak that puts me into the Super Bowl. And then what I care about is winning that last game. So if you want to recite numbers, I want to hear 32, 32, 32. I need to take a moment.
You know, because you said a lot there, right? And so more towards the end when you were talking about the 32 and the last man standing. And I'm saying this comment because we're talking about Buffalo, we're talking about New York. And George Steinbrenner had a tale of 2 lives as owning the Yankees. And as he got older and they started winning the championships there in the 90s, he had an attitude that if you didn't win the World Series, it was a failure, right? Derek Jeter would come out and they say, well, you had a great season. Because it's not a great season. I didn't win a championship, right? So if I don't win a championship, it's a lost season. And I think the crux of what you're talking about right now is because you have the team. If you don't win a Super Bowl as an owner, you have to look at the season as an utter failure. And you should be looking at everyone, not just the players and the coaches, but your GM, your scouting department. Why isn't my scouting department finding me treasures that we could trade for? Or right? And so everybody should be looked at, and as an owner, you should have that accountability all the way down. And somebody's got to explain to me when you lost to the Texans in the first year of the playoffs with Josh Allen. Was that the Texans, right? His first year? To now this season. Somebody needs to be explaining to me why didn't we win? No, that's not good enough. Well, we weren't ready to win the Super Bowl. That's still not good enough. Why weren't we good enough? What did we miss out on? And what are we going to do different the following year to plug those holes? Because you almost seem like year after year, it was the same story there for a couple of years, right? And so I think Terry is an owner, and a great point about the line, right? Because does he really think the fan base and the media that covers the Bills are idiots? That we don't know what's going on with the Buffalo Bills? Like, you really think we're going to fall for that line? So, go ahead, Rob.
Well, Terry's unique. I think Kim was more involved than Terry, if you want to know the truth.
100%.
Terry looks at things much like a businessman. So when you think about how he's run the Sabres, he's never found the right connection. Okay, it just he's run it back with Lindy Ruff now, and they're somewhat relevant. But this is the first season in how long? So as an owner, he hasn't done very well in terms of managing his own product there. I think he's run into a very fortunate situation here because if you think about the hiring process, who was his first choice? He and Kim chose Rex Ryan. They went straight up for a name. And the way that the Doug Whaley era ended, they had him with McDermott at the draft. Whaley's the one that put that deal together with Kansas City that sent Mahomes with that pick. We got Deion Dawkins and Trey White out of that one trade with Kansas City and also drafted Milano. So there's 3 Pro Bowlers in one draft. Thanks, compliments to Doug Whaley. So what happened the day after the draft? They fired Doug Whaley. And the day after that, they hired Brandon Beane. So this is your owner. This is how this has gone. Okay? And they did not earn their way into that first year of the playoffs. They got in because of Andy Dalton. They were 9-7. That wasn't good enough, but they backed in. And the following year was a Nathan Peterman experience. So they didn't see the playoffs until the third season of the process when Josh Allen jumped over that Minnesota linebacker and Brian Dable fell in love with the kid, and they went on a streak and got into the playoffs. Their first year of earning it. So it's been relevancy since, but not getting over the hump each and every year. And if you want to look at the record, how much do you really or should be crediting to Josh Allen? The defense has not been there. So there are reasons.
The whole thing, the Josh Allen.
What I'm saying is the whole scope of everything is not being looked at. Now we're at the end of this so-called process of the, Mick Bean. Even Jeremy on the Jeremy and Joe show said the other day of the Bill Squad show, he used the term Mick Bean. It's like, oh my God, because you always think of the two as one. Well, this was the one season, to Vince's point, that clearly wasn't. Since Hard Knocks, you could see that kind of the division. And if you really were to see mannerisms, JT's all about that. We're going to be talking about that tomorrow night on our podcast, is the mannerisms of the whole thing.
Let me stop you just a pause. You can keep going. Let me pause. We always talk about the Madden curse and the curse of Hard Knocks. It just took 18 to 19 weeks for us to see the curse of Hard Knocks. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that was good. I love that. It was perfect. But I essentially what I'm saying to your audience here is there's a bigger picture. And keep in mind that McDermott had never been a head coach before. He's always been an assistant. He was assistant under Jimmy Johnson in Philadelphia with both Ron Rivera and Leslie Frazier. That's where he learned this. Took it to Carolina as Ron Rivera's defensive coordinator, and in Super Bowl 50 produced one of the best defensive in NFL history, keeping up with Peyton Manning and Von Miller. That was an amazing defensively played Super Bowl. Well, this 4-2-5 hasn't been the same since we've been here because Julius Peppers isn't out on the edge. Luke Kuechly isn't playing linebacker, and neither is Thomas Davis. It's a different era. This 4-2-5 that we've been holding on to hasn't really helped us in these playoffs in the end.
So the point that you bring up there, right there, in a nutshell, you can win with the 4-2-5. I'm not saying you can't. I'm not saying you can't. But you started to bring up players. You started to bring up names of players that made an impact.
They did.
Right? I've been a staunch defender of Greg Rousseau saying he does his job. Right? You're not asking him to be this elite edge rusher that is going to get you double-digit sacks. I've said that. He sets the edge. He's good against the run. He's also good against the pass. He does his job. It's the other side, the one that we are trying to find somebody there. We put in Bosa, which was such a waste. Goes to you, Brandon Bean. We also had Michael Hoyt, who we thought was going to come off the edge. Of course, PED suspension, probably those 6 weeks led to the season-ending injury. Just going to put that out there. Again, Brandon Bean. We look before that. Von Miller was having a good year before his injury, but again, you're reaching into a bag, going deep, trying to find somebody. Why? Because you draft the likes of a Boogie Basham that can't do it.
100%.
You keep drafting these people. We drafted, 2 defensive ends this year that you had landed. He played and then is on IR. You can't draft. Look at his history of the draft. So it's either on you, Brandon Bean, or it's on your scouting department that is not being able to come up with these people in the early rounds. Now, I will give you all the credit in the world. You guys came up with Benford, and you guys have come up with a lot of guys 5, 6, 7th rounds.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the money rounds, where they're taking up your cap space, you can't find anybody.
Nope.
How is it that hard? My man Stevie D nailed 4 for 4. And what was that, Stevie D? 2021? 4 for 4.
Yeah.
Brandon Bean in 8 years or 9 years can't land any. And you hit on it. Now, maybe we give him credit on the Josh Allen. Because Whaley set it up for him so that they had the opportunity. Right? And then it was just a move from 10 to 7. So we give them credit that they moved up. And at that point, Mayfield and Darnold were gone. You're left between Allen, Rosen, and Jackson. Jackson really wasn't high on people's lists. So be fair. So you take him out of the equation. And so now you're left between Rosen and Allen. Rosen came with a lot of red flags. I'm going to tell you, and that's why I'm not a scout, I kind of like Josh Rosen. I thought his play at UCLA was great, but they said he had shoulder problems and everything else. So then that kind of leads you to Allen. So maybe by default you fell into Josh Allen, but you did make the move to get up to 7, and you drafted him. So I'm going to give him credit for that, which I guess he figures that that's going to cover him for the rest of his career. I drafted Josh Allen. You didn't draft anybody else after that. Go ahead.
Well, in the 56 draft picks that he's only had 2 Pro Bowlers other than Allen. That's a pretty large statement right there.
It is. Well, it is and it isn't.
Well,
it is and it isn't.
Yeah.
Because you got to be careful of the Pro Bowl. Right, you really do. You got to be careful of that Pro Bowl. I've heard people throw that stat out, but Stevie D and I were talking about this before, right? What is the Pro Bowl? It's a popularity contest.
It is.
I don't really care about that. Yes, what I'd like for you to be in the top echelon, sure, that's great. But when you play in a system where, just like you said, everybody eats, if I'm a wide receiver, if I'm a tight end, I'm never going to go to the Pro Bowl because the X is going to get 50 or get 100 targets. The Y is going to get 100 targets. You're going to go all the way down the line, and you're spreading it so everybody eats. Nobody's going to kind of rise to the top as the cream rises to the top. It's just not going to happen. Right. So I want to be careful with that.
But I think the point essentially is the quality of talent. It's just reflecting that. I mean, when you think about some of these drafts, you mentioned Boogie Basham. And by the way, I want to back up on one other point, mentioning that both of these guys were learning on the job. Brandon Bean was assistant GM in Carolina. He really didn't have a lot of decision-making. And the one he's really taking the most credit for was Addison. For the longest time, he had been, touting his own horn that in Carolina, he was the one that scouted Addison off of Washington's practice squad and brought Mario Addison to Carolina and had a decent career. But that was his feather in his cap that he was touting to many different people, and a lot of people say that's why he was looked at for the general manager job. Here, look at your Boogie Basham example. They had already taken Greg Rousseau in round one. They only needed one end. They took a luxury pick on Boogie Basham. There were several quality players. One of our biggest needs was center and guard at the time. The very best offensive lineman in the game was on the board. He's been a consistent all-pro at center for Kansas City ever since.
Creed Humphrey?
Yeah, he's the best offensive lineman in football. He was sitting right there, and he was a need for us because Morse was one concussion away from retirement. So, and he's played left guard at the same time, and we didn't have David Edwards at that time. But you can look at all these draft picks. Elam, okay. Look at even Ed Oliver. That was pretty much a reach at that point where they were at 5. I was at that draft right down below. I wanted Simmons. I was like, if Simmons didn't have his ACL tear, he would have gone and have your guy Williams that you guys took with what, number 4? So, and what's Simmons been ever since he's been drafted in the Titans? He's been the perennial all-pro defensive tackle. So there's a lot of swings and a lot of misses in these first-round picks.
You know who else was in that draft? Because I was screaming for that guy. Quinn Meinerz. Do you know who he is? I'm sure Buffalo fans know who he is. Yeah, he's the guard for the Denver Broncos that went in the 3rd round. And you mentioned we needed guard. I've been waiting to jump in. That was the guy I wanted so bad. Stevie D, when we did that show, I remember I was like, he just looks like a lineman, right? The gut was out. Right?
Yeah.
Just love it. And what does he become? He's become an all-pro guard.
Mm-hmm.
I digress.
Yeah.
I digress.
Well, there were several. Trey Greenlaw was in that draft. There was a lot of other ones. I mean, I've gone back and I've analyzed every single draft we've done.
And so listening to you talk, Rob, right? It's like, if I'm a Bills fan, I am really worried. I'm really worried about this is my owner.
100%.
Yes.
Because how did he make all his money in life? I don't know how he doesn't see and look at his GM for accountability to what has happened from a draft to a free agent, where he's been brainwashed. It's almost like Brandon Beane. He went to the Brandon Beane cult, and he brought in Terry Pegula, and he brainwashed him. Brandon Beane's the greatest. Brandon Beane's the greatest. He can't do no wrong, and we got to promote him, right? Because it's odd that he doesn't see where he didn't hit on picks, and the lack of. Because if I'm an owner, what are we doing at the trade deadline, guys? What are we doing here?
Yeah.
So it's funny you say that. It's funny you say, because I'm tracking with what you're saying. Now, I want to be careful as I say this, right? Because to your point, Rob, early on, I do believe that Kim was doing a great job as far as running this organization.
She was.
I also think that Kim and Brandon Beane developed a strong relationship where she trusted Brandon. Brandon really got to her. Mm-hmm. And then the unfortunate instance that happened with Kim, where she had to kind of relinquish her duties now down to Terry. Again, Rob, to your point, horrible owner, right? What's he doing? But now he's just kind of going off of, well, Kim said this, and so I'm going to believe Brandon Beane is the guy.
Yeah.
Right? And whatever Brandon says, he has committed 100% to Brandon Beane. But guys, I do want to change the topic of conversation just a little bit as we go away and bring it back to today, because this one everybody's been talking about. And that is the statements related to Keon Coleman. Now, first and foremost, let's be clear. When you are a leader of men, of groups of people, the one thing that you never do, you absolutely never do, is to out one of the people that are under you amongst the group or amongst the world. No matter how dissatisfied you are with what they're doing or what they have done, you just don't do that. For Terry Pegula to sit at that podium during this press conference and call out Keon Coleman by name, and then put it on Sean McDermott, that's unforgivable.
Yep.
That is unforgivable. And what that does, first of all, Keon is in year 2 of a 4-year contract. He's got 2 years left with your team. Keon was kicking back, hanging out with his friends, right? Well, actually, he was probably just waking up like, oh, man, had a good time. Wait, what? What did I just hear?
As his agent's blowing up his phone.
Right. What is this? So then that happens. And then what you're saying, in essence, you've already tipped your hand, right? Keon's not going to be back next year. We could have guessed it, but he's not going to be back next year.
Yeah, there's a
no matter what. Go ahead.
The problem with that is his salary is 2.5, but his dead cap is over 5. So we're going to lose almost $3 million if we cut him.
They're going to they were planning on releasing him, and now they have to release him, or trade him, or do whatever. But how do I trade somebody to you, Stevie D? I'm going to call you up as the Jets and say, hey, I got this great wide receiver. His name is Keon Coleman. Wait a minute. The guy that you just bashed in front of the entire world?
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
Why do you have to use the Jets? Because we probably answered that call and say, yeah, we'll give you a third rounder. So
well,
right.
No. I want the third rounder next year. I don't want it this year.
Yeah.
But
gotta make that
value. You killed any value that he may have had with another team. And your only job now is to cut him unless you're going to try and massage it and figure out a way to keep him. But
now you got 52 guys that are also watching the same press conference.
Yes.
And that are like, wait, did you just hear what he said about Keon?
Yeah.
There's some guys that actually like Keon. I don't know. I mean, he's a lovable guy, right? So I'm sure they all like him. But now you start to ask the question, what about me? What do you think about me? You came out with this. What are you saying behind closed doors about me?
Well,
now I know Keon had some growing up to do, and I know he's had some issues. That's neither here nor there.
Correct.
Then, and Rob, I'm going to let you hit on this one. And then you make it seem as though that was a Sean McDermott draft pick, not a Brandon Beane draft pick. When there's video on your own team's website,
yes,
or on YouTube, or on OW Sports, or on Mafia Den, there's a video that shows Brandon Beane at the combine talking with the other guys there saying, there goes Coleman. Oh, look at those hands. Okay, and then the one guy says, well, he ran a 4.56. He's like, Brandon Beane, that's great for us. Look at what Gabe did. They want him. Brandon Beane wants him.
Yep. That was on the show Embedded. So they were there at the combine. They're up in the booth eating chips or whatever. And he ran a 4.61. And Brandon Beane said, I like that. That'll help us get him. This is a GM selecting talent saying a 4.61 that he liked.
Yes, he did.
There was no concern like, oh my God, I can't believe he just ran a 4.61. This is not what we need. How is he going to create separation? Because it's in his draft bio that he doesn't create separation. Okay. He only had 800 yards in his senior season there at Florida State, and he had a really decent quarterback. Vince, you and I talked about that quarterback a couple different times.
Jordan Travis.
There you go. Yeah. So there
Former
was,
New York Jet.
yeah, and his only competition was against Clemson with Wiggins, who's on the Baltimore Ravens right now. So he basically could only put up 800. We're talking on our podcast, we're talking about the kid that Carolina picked up, and Xavier Legette, that put up 1,600 yards in the SEC against 5 cornerbacks that were drafted in the first 3 rounds of that draft. So, it's like, okay, you're going to slide back one more and allow Carolina to take this guy, but Coleman that can't create separation, and we need an X that can. That was wonderful about Diggs, all his footwork. He was tough to cover off the line. But, if your X is your first read, think of Josh Allen dropping back. He's over at his first read. Coleman's not open. Where he's got to go to his second read, in progressions or elsewhere. And what were we doing this year with Coleman? We were sending him 56% of his routes were go routes. Why? The kid doesn't get downfield. He doesn't open up till he's way downfield. By that time, Josh is already running somewhere to try to find somebody open.
His top end speed is legit, but it's his acceleration to get to the top end speed where he struggles, right? And so we get that. Go ahead.
Because you mentioned it, Rob, and as we talked about getting older, you tend to forget things if I wait too long to get it out. It's right because, and I got no hair to catch it before it goes, right? So what Terry did at that moment in time when he mentioned a player and he mentioned Sean McDermott, he's a rat, right? So if you're familiar with unions, and when the union goes on strike and somebody crosses the picket line in New York, at least in New York City, they come out with a 30 by 30 rat and they blow it up on the thing, and the guy's out there with the bullhorn, right, and calling you a rat, right? And that's what Terry is. He's a rat. And he now showed his true colors to everybody that's on that roster.
Yeah.
And that's the sad part, because he doesn't realize the damage that he has done by calling out Keon Coleman. Whether you like Keon Coleman or not in that building, if I'm a player, I'm still like, damn, he did him dirty like that? Like,
yes.
I don't like the guy either, but how do you call him like that?
Stevie D, when they fired McDermott, players were taking to social media and were making comments about how bad of a move it was to fire McDermott. Now, I get that you have allegiances and ties to the former coach. I get that, right? And sometimes that's a business decision that you have to get over that. But when you compound that with what you just did, it just magnifies how much of a rat you are.
It magnifies to potential head coaching candidates, and it magnifies to potential free agents that might want to, or thought that they might want to come to this team.
100%. Great point. What's that, Steve?
I'm a potential, to Rob's point, I'm a potential free agent. I reach out to James Cook. I reach out to Josh Allen. I reach out to Deion Dawkins, right? The veteran players, or Matt Milano. Hey, what the hell's going on there in Buffalo? He's like, dude, I don't know what's going on, but they got rid of my coach, and whether that's right or wrong, you can debate it. And how they did Keon, I don't understand it. I don't know. I don't know if I want to be here anymore.
You're trying to hire a coach. Yes. You are actively interviewing coaches right now.
Yes.
And you do that.
This supposed culture is fractured now.
Yeah. So, guys, we could go on and on and on. I for health reasons, I'm probably going to have to tame it down.
I was a little worried there earlier. I don't know about you, Rob. I was a little worried.
Well, I was going to run and get my blood pressure medicine, but I don't know how I get it to him.
Man, I've been like this all day.
I bet.
I've been like this all day.
And this is you sent me a note. I'll be good by the time the show comes on. Did you not? I'm good. I'll be good. We got hours before we got
8 hours ago. So this is like noon today. Oh yeah, I'll be good. I'll be good. we're gonna have to have part two. We're gonna have part two of this, Rob, if we can get you to come back. We need part two.
Or you guys come on our podcast tomorrow. We could finish it up on ours.
We'll definitely jump on. For sure. If the invite's there, we definitely jump on. But
okay.
There's just so much to unpack here, right? I feel like we're like one of those crime drama shows, right? Where they leave you at the cliffhanger because we haven't finished, because there's just more.
Yes.
There's just more.
Yeah, the more's going to be too when you find a head coach and you fill out your roster as everybody else is filling it up. What are you left with as far as coordinators and the secondary coaches and filling out that staff? So that's another concern I would have up in Buffalo.
Well, here's a bigger one. This was not discussed today. What's coming up in 2026? I know you aren't going to be able to see it, but it's pages on pages about what our salary cap looks like next year. This is the other thing. This means status quo. It's not changing anytime soon. This is status quo. We're 7 over, puts us at 25th in the league and being over the cap at this point.
Right, but we don't know what the cap number is going to be, so you could be under.
Well, I don't think so, because we have that's without 7 free agents, 7 starters that we would have to sign. That's before that. We're already over that. So
you're over the cap with the people you have signed. That's not your impending players that are currently on the roster that are considered off the books for 26.
There are 7 starters that are not in this equation at 7 over the cap.
7 starters? 7 starters?
7 starters. That includes David Edwards, Matt Milano, Joey Bosa, Connor McGovern, which is a huge piece, Daquan Jones, AJ Epinesa, which is Vince's favorite.
Wait, we don't go by name. Number 57, please.
Yeah, he's been on witness protection for several years now. And Larry Okunjobi. And let me put this to
thank you, Jesus, that he's only on a 1 year.
David Edwards, if we wanted to sign him, because he's been a very good left guard, what would you guess his market value is?
12 million?
19.9. How are we doing that? Connor McGovern's even more important. His is 16.8 market value. Matt Milano's dropped. He went from 11 to 4.6 million. But good luck getting him for 4.6. But let alone, how's it happening? We're going to have to make deep cuts. And guess who's on the roster for 18.6? Already signed. Dawson Knox. Wow.
They got it.
The 5th highest paid tight end in football. How does this happen? That wasn't talked about today, was it? Mr. Brandon, Big Baller Bean, put us
Rob,
there.
You don't care about my health. Now you go in.
It's easy, buddy. Easy, breathe.
We do this on our show. We go, woosah. Woosah.
I need alcohol. I don't know what was in this, but I need alcohol. Rob, thank you for joining, and maybe we get you in again next week for part 2.
I love you guys. You guys are the best. I tell everybody.
I said hello.
Seriously, we advertise you guys and promote you as much as we can. We always tell everybody it's the best show on Wednesday night, bar none.
Oh, thank you. And tell
Who are we
JT.
going up against? We going up against The Voice?
I don't know. This is still the best. We love it.
The Masked Singer? Are we going up against The Masked Singer?
Might be, but no. This is it.
Survivor? Do we got Survivor? Thanks, Rob.
All right, guys.
Appreciate
All
it.
right.
Talk to you soon.
You got it.
All right. So that was Rob from Cover 2 podcast.
I tell you
CBD
what, with the stats, he's got that market value right there. I mean, he's prepped and ready to go.
He's our capologist, that's for sure. Right? We bring a segment for the cap space. Brutal, just brutal what happened today. But it's kind of funny because when you look at what's happening in the league, right? We should all be talking about the Rams playing the Seahawks. We should be talking about Denver playing the Patriots. Jarrett Stidham in now at quarterback instead of Bo Nix. The fact that Drake May in his second year is probably going to make it to the Super Bowl. These are all things we should be talking about. Instead, not only just in Western New York, right? This is taking over social media and sports broadcasts and sports talk show. I mean, just utter dysfunction. It's funny. I made reference to this, but it truly was like Jerry Jones. What? Hold my beer. Let me show you true dysfunction. And that's what we had. But we do talk all sports. So I before we ran out of time, Stevie D, I wanted to kind of give at least a few minutes to talk about these championship games, right? Because the Rams got there, and I didn't think that they were going to get there before the game. I thought that the cold weather in Chicago, and I thought the momentum that Chicago was on, that they were going to be able to stop the Rams, and I thought that they were going to advance to the championship. But something started to come into focus. Not sure how much of the game you were able to watch, but something started to come into focus. One of the things that came into focus, Ben Johnson is from the tree in Detroit, right? That's where he comes from. And for whatever reason, I drew a mind blank on the coach. Please, what's his face?
Dan Campbell.
Yeah, Dan Campbell. So he's off the Dan Campbell tree. And we see what Dan Campbell does, right? He's beyond Riverboat Ron. So he is constantly going for it on fourth down. Ben Johnson lost that game with horrible decisions to go for it. I don't care if it's by a yard or 3 yards or 5 yards. Doesn't matter. The playoffs are not the same, Stevie D, as regular season. You and I have talked about it.
I am so glad you're bringing this up because it's unbelievable. He didn't learn from Dan Campbell, who on the road in San Francisco blew that game when he decided to pass up that field goal to go up by 3 possessions. The momentum shifted on that play, and the 49ers took off from there, right? And it's amazing that some coaches cannot differentiate between regular season and the playoffs, right? I think we saw a play. I don't think it was last week. Maybe it was the weekend.
Wild card. Yeah, it was wild card.
5-yard line and fourth down from the 5. You're not at the 2. You're not at the 1. You're at the 5. Everything is so close. Now you're saying that you're going to get the 5, and you gave up 3 points to start the game. To start the game, to get the goose egg off the board on the road, kick the field goal, and take the points. It's mind blowing to me.
If
you're going against good teams. There's a reason why they're there.
If you're in the fourth quarter, I get it, right? Because now you've got to try to, instead of get the 3, you have got to try to get the 7. I get it. But in the first, at least the first 2.5, maybe 3 quarters, you should be stacking points. You give me 3, you give me another 3, you give me another 3, right? I'm hoping that I get a stop in there, but I want to stack points.
Yes. Think about this, everybody out there. You go down, you kick a field goal, you're up 3-0, right? All of a sudden, your team now gets a 3 and out or whatever, and you get the ball back. You go down, score a touchdown. You're up by 2 scores early on. If by not kicking the field goal and missing it on fourth down, you're still 1 possession. Having a 2-possession lead, man, it allows you to breathe, especially on the road. Allows you to breathe. And if you're at home, I mean, it's different with the Bears because they were home from the standpoint of they were in front of their home crowd. I'm speaking more on the away side, but being up by 2 scores is huge. I just think it's huge from a mental for your team. Okay, we can breathe. Okay, they came down, scored a field goal. No harm, right? Because regardless, even if we're tied, right? So there's some scenarios in my head that I work on that I think is a mindset or a psyche in a player.
Sure.
I think going down the field, driving 80 yards or 70 yards, and not to come away with points because you went for it on fourth down from the 5. I just wasted 6-7 minutes of the game clock, and I got nothing for it.
So now you've hit on 2 points. You said even before that, which is real. momentum is real.
So real.
By going for it, you go from exactly what you said. You kick the field goal. You feel good. I've taken 7 minutes or 6 or 7 minutes off the clock. It wasn't a wasted possession. If I go for a 4th and 4 and I don't get it, not only have I taken that time that I can't recoup, I've walked away with 0 points. My team comes to the sidelines with their heads down. The offense on the other side comes on the field, even though they're backed up, they come back onto the field with their heads up like, man, we dodged that bullet. Let's go. Think about that. That's like 5 things that you have done on the negative side. This is playoffs, DVD. They talk about baseball. All of a sudden, things change in baseball. Right? A small ball all of a sudden comes into play in baseball because I need to get that run in from third.
Yeah.
A guy gets on by a walk. What are they doing? When we're talking American League teams, right? They're trying to steal second or get that guy over to second, get the sacrifice, and get this guy in. Small ball. Well, take that same equation and put it into football. We're not saying that we want you just to go kick field goals all day. No, obviously, you're going to try to get a touchdown. But sure enough, I am walking away from that possession with points.
Yeah. I understand that field goals generally won't win you football games where I go down the field, I kick 5 field goals in a game, I get 15 points. That's not going to win you a game. Right.
Correct.
I understand that. If there was a pattern, drive after drive, and you're just kicking field goals, at some point, the other team scoring touchdowns, you're going to have to do something. So I understand from that perspective. But you go down, you go for a 4th down, you don't get it, and then you have no points. I'd rather take that early lead, get the goose egg off the board. I got plenty of drives left in the game to come down and score touchdowns. I don't have to score the touchdown on that first drive. I can come away with points because I know I'm going to get the ball again in the first quarter, right? If I get to halftime and I'm kicking 3 field goals, yeah, I may have to think about that in the third quarter because, man, what's going on here? I got to do something to get a touchdown. So
think about this. You kick the field goal, right? Now you're up 3-0. You kick off to them. They drive down, they score a touchdown. You drive down, score a touchdown. Guess what? You're back in the lead.
Yeah.
You miss it, they score, you score, you're tied.
Right.
Don't waste the possession.
Right. I don't know what the Bears' 4th down efficiency was. I don't know if they were 50%, if they were 41%. But even at 41% in the playoffs, that's a huge gamble at 41%. All right, that's 59% chance that you're probably not going to get it.
Well, even in that game, it was low, and you have to question the play calls, too. You have Caleb Williams, who has escapability. I'm not saying that he's Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. I get that. But, again, we talk about pressure, right? Getting the field goal puts the pressure on the other team. Rolling Caleb out may cut the field in half, but now you put the pressure on the linebacker. You put the pressure on the edge, it may be the safety because now they're afraid you're going to take off and run. They're going to come up. You throw it over the top, which leads me to the next reason why they lost because I don't know the tight end, but it wasn't Cole Kmet. It was the other guy. He couldn't hold on to anything. Yes, 84. Dropped everything. I do. Oh, go ahead.
Think about this, too, in that game. You had wind, you had snow, you had poor footing. You're hoping on these 4th downs that you can do it. Now, again, not from a distance standpoint, you got to watch the field goal attempts. I understand that. I'm not asking my field goal kicker to kick a 55-yarder in the snow, on grass and wind, that. So some of that comes into play as far how far are you kicking the field goal. So I want to give that because I didn't see a lot of that particular game.
Hey, Lou.
I do. Hey, Lou, I want to be respectful because I didn't see that. But just generally speaking on 4th down in the playoffs, I'm not a huge fan of letting the ball go without getting.
Oh, no Brian Dable, Alex. What are you doing to me? What are you doing to me? Now, here's my thought on this, Stevie D. there's a lot of things going on in the league, right, that I'm just not aligned with, right? And maybe it's because I'm becoming that crotchety, grumpy old man, right? Maybe that's what it is. But when I'm watching these games, it feels like the younger Madden generation, who is now grown up, is taking what they did in Madden and applying it to the NFL. That's what it feels like, right? Because you remember, I mean, we're a bunch of Madden heads, old school Madden heads. We talked about going back to the late 80s, early 90s, playing Madden all the way through. I retired. That guy over there still thinks he's in his 20s.
I can't play it all that anymore.
Hitting buttons one at a time.
The passing tree. It's unbelievable. You got to hit all this stuff to get your receiver. I'm like, I got to go back to the classic. I can't do all Madden. I can't complete a pass.
But I feel it feels as though this is the mindset and the mentality, right? You remember that the guys that didn't really know how to play, they were always going for it on fourth down. Like, what are you doing, right? 4th and 32, and they drop all the way back and, try. That's what it feels like. It's not always you got to be smarter. I would encourage every head coach to read The Art of War, right? You have got to be smart. It's not only the play on the field, but it's tactical. You have to be able to see the game plays and drives in advance.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, then what are you doing?
Think about this for a second, right? Because the announcers are now talking about the analytics. Hey, what's up, Craig?
Hey, Craig. No, not the last one of the season. Not yet. Coming up.
It's analytics, right? And it's telling me to go for it on 4 downs. What analytics doesn't tell you is the magnitude of the game, and it doesn't tell you the momentum swing.
Yes.
The human element. It doesn't tell you that of the momentum swing. That it does, and how it energizes the other team, the crowd, especially if the stop is at home, what it does for the crowd. It doesn't tell you that. Analytics can't tell you that. AI can't, unless the analytics will tell you, hey, on the road, this crowd is a little crazy. To my knowledge, the analytics data is not telling you that. So when the coaches are in the headset and says, hey, you should go for this, because 72% of the time says you should go for it, but it doesn't give you the intangibles in that because the analytics don't tell you that.
So, and I'm glad you brought to the analytics, right? Because that's the other part. So you nailed it. See Kevin Cash raise Dodgers World Series, right? But now the other part of the guys that are in this game are the fantasy guys, right? The fantasy guys, and they think, well, if I read enough stats, it's going to tell me how to perform, what formations to do, how to coach, and how to build a team and how to coach that team. Analytics don't do that. The stats don't do that. They help you. They're an aid, right? You have to imagine having a toolbox. And in that toolbox, you have a hammer, you have a screwdriver, you have pliers, you have a wrench. They help you. So you need to have each of those different items. But not just one will be able to get you through all the way. I have pliers, and I have to screw in a nail or screw in something. What am I doing with the pliers? You want to have all the tools at your disposal so you can be successful. And there's the problem. It goes back to the 4th down, right? To your point, right? The numbers say that I should do this, but no. Then again, I'm echoing what you're saying. The numbers don't tell me if Caleb is dealing with a sore hand. Maybe he dinged his hand. Maybe he stepped on something. Maybe somebody stepped on his foot, right? So now he can't roll out. The numbers aren't telling me that. They're telling me a breakdown and an average over things that happened in the past. That's all they're doing. Not time and day, not point in time. But you get caught up so much into that. How do we find ourselves watching a product where you have the bean counters, no pun intended with bean, you have the bean counters that are the ones that are out there dictating what's happening on the field. I got nothing for you on that one.
Yeah, I wonder if the business side of how the owners have made their money, right? Think about companies, right? They made money at other companies, right? They have finance people, they have analytics teams that tell you, hey, do this in sales and do that. And they want, so now you come back to, ooh, how can I apply this to my sports team? And I wonder if that's part of what has driven analytics also into the game. I know there were some people in the baseball side that kind of started that, the Billy Ball or whatever it was called, the
Sure.
Moneyball movie, right? But I wonder if that has really taken over and how they're doing it in sports. And I think you can use it as an advisement and a guide, but as
Yes.
a head coach, you got everything right in front of you. You see everything that's going on. You're, from the crowd to how the other team is playing. Are they on top of their game? Are they playing really sloppy? Like you can use that as a guide, but you can't live by it. And I wonder how many coaches actually live by it, which is
I think a lot. I think the new generation, I think there's a lot.
the 30-something-year-old
I think-
coaches that are coming in.
So why hire me? I'm ready. Me and my guy Stevie D, we'll be on the sidelines. It'll finally make him a Bills fan. Terry, just give us a call. Hey, oh yeah. You'll have to pass up that green because you'll be coming to the red, white, and blue. We will be coaches for the Buffalo Bills.
Do you remember the Beastie Boys song, Sabotage?
All right, so then, Stevie D, we had the Seahawks and the 49ers, and that game was over before it even got started. But we already knew this, right? 49ers were coming in. Everybody was on IR, just about, right? And they didn't stand a chance. It only gave us a chance to look behind the curtain at how good Seattle's defense is. And very quietly, I mean, Sam is playing MVP type caliber, and that they ended it. What did Craig say? Blue and green makes me red. Sabotage got out there. So, but the Seahawks, they dismantled the 49ers, which was to be expected.
I mean,
so
I honestly, I didn't watch any of that game because I knew what that outcome was going to be. So I wasn't wasting 3 hours to watch a butt whipping there.
those games are over in the first half.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been laying it on it. So we have the Rams and the Seahawks.
I'm gonna that game. I'm definitely watching. I'm that divisional game. It's the third game of the year between those two. It should be good. Should be a good football game.
I like the Seahawks in that one. Home field. Still not sold on the Rams. I know Charbonnet is out, so that's going to hurt for Seattle. But still, that defense is just. I mean, they're lights out. If we go to the AFC side again, you have Denver. First and foremost, I'm going to tell you now. Yes, we have Josh, but Josh and the Bills had 5 turnovers, but some of those were gift turnovers that we gave to the Broncos. But even at that, the Broncos they had early on one of the league's best defenses. But what we've seen, Stevie D, over probably the last 4 to 5 weeks, they are susceptible to a lot through the ground and in the air. And if they don't return to form of what they had, what was supposed to be, one of the league's best defenses, you have a team that's being led by, what was it, Jarrett Stidham?
Yep.
That's your guy. Jarrett Stidham. Not
Jeff
Hostetler. He's not just Hostetler. He's not Nick Foles.
This is the worst outcome that when the season started that could possibly would have happened, that the Patriots go into the Super Bowl. Are you freaking kidding me? You fire Mayo, You bring in, Vrabel, who walks on water out there, and he's 60 minutes away leading this team to the Super Bowl against a backup quarterback. I am praying that Denver pulls out a miracle here. Somehow
I
they
don't.
pull out a miracle.
I don't let them go. Let Stevie D hear me out. Let them go. Let them in the chata and let them just sit there, get all excited, right? Oh, we're back. We had it with Tommy, and now we got it with Drakey and all that kind of stuff. And then Seattle Legion of Boom Part 2 comes into play. And they
you're
will
thinking
lay
like Tony Easton, Chicago Bears Super Bowl?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What was that? 51-3 or something like that? Yes.
46-10. Or 45-10, I think the final was.
45-10. Okay.
I can fact check me that it's got access real quick.
But yes, that is exactly what I'm thinking is going to happen. Because there's no way that the Patriot offense and again, I think I saw something in here, I think maybe from Lou or from some others. We've talked about it. The Patriots, and no disrespect, in all fairness, the Patriots have played good ball.
Sure.
They've been very balanced, right? And they've been able to they earned where they got. You can only play what's in front of you.
Yeah.
But also keep in mind, even though you're only playing what's in front of you, at the end of the day, are you truly battle tested? And are you as good as what it appears to be? Did you play against that top level competition that hardened you so that you're here? I don't believe so.
But I think that's the coaching, right? That's the Vrabel. Look, we all know Josh McDaniels is battle tested as an offensive coordinator. Stunk as a head coach, but battle tested as an offensive coordinator. Vrabel is legit as it gets with the coaching. I think they have a pretty good, solid coaching staff throughout. So I think Vrabel and staff will make those adjustments that are needed. And that's what great coaching can do. And look, Sean Payton is a great coach in his own right, and he's got work he's got to try and do to slow down the Patriots, knowing that he's got Stidham. And how is he going to create plays to score points? And what is he going to do to motivate his defense to be better than what they have been of late? So I think that game is going to be a better game to watch. I mean, I think the Seahawks Rams game is going to be a better game to watch than the Patriot Bronco game.
For sure. Lou said that Sean Payton ran out of money after last week. That is correct.
I'm surprised he didn't call Phillip Rivers as a backup. If it doesn't go well in the first quarter, you send it over to old man Rivers.
The NFL officials' Christmas party is well paid for and stocked by Sean Payton contributions in that of the Denver Broncos.
Well, the Kraft family is not known, for paying things off. So maybe these guys are going to make a lot of money, and they say, you know what, we're going to get them all. We're just going to call it even Steven, and we're just going to take their money.
Could you imagine Carl Shuffers and his crew, whoever's officiating the game? Hey, Robert, it's time to pony up. Well, didn't Sean pay you last week? Yeah, but his check bounced. So we need something here. So, all right, guys, that's going to wrap this one up. We want to thank Rob for being able to come on and join. Thank you, Demetrius, Lou, Craig, everybody, Alex, JT, everybody that commented here. Thank you for allowing me to go off on my rant, Stevie D. Had a lot of that built.
I thought I saw a little bit of a vein pop in here. I was like, oh my God, I don't want the man to have a stroke here on live camera.
Yeah.
But it was good to get it out, wasn't it? It was good to get it out, though.
Yeah, but I still got some left in me. That's why we have to have part 2.
You got to wait until after you get your coach for the part 2, right? You got to get your coach in so you can then take it from there to the new coaching staff.
It depends who the coach is. If it's from that list that they put out today, oh God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That was weak. That was a weak list.
Mm.
That's why you have to get somebody because you get rid of somebody who's got 91 victories. You can't screw this up. You cannot screw this up because you're going to screw up Josh Allen.
The fact that they had Anthony Lynn on the list of coaches.
Where did that name come from? Is that a Rooney Rule thing to satisfy the Rooney Rule? Because that's odd.
Has to be. And Anthony, if you take that interview, something's wrong with you. Because you know you're not getting the job. You know you're not qualified for the job. And you know you don't want that job. It's a tough job, Stevie D. It's a tough job.
It is a tough job.
Even though McDermott didn't win it all, he left a legacy that people have expectations that the guy that comes in is going to fill those shoes and do better. Boy, oh boy.
I worry for you guys if you hire a rookie coach. And I know the hot name is the guy from Jacksonville, and a lot of people I think you like him too. I'm worried about a rookie. Was that the guy you liked? Or did I have the wrong guy?
Yeah. Ooh.
Oh, I have the wrong guy that you were talking about as far as a coordinator is concerned.
Yeah.
What coordinator did you like?
The guy, I forgot his name now. I got to figure out his name. He was Atlanta's OC.
Atlanta's OC. Okay. So I just worry about you get a young, inexperienced coach that's been given the keys to a Ferrari and say, "Oh, don't crash it." You're coming from a four-cylinder, 135 horsepower. We're going to give you a mid-engine Ferrari, and here you go. And that's going to go right into a tree, right? So that's why I worry. If you got to find somebody that can stay calm in the chaos, slow it down, and be able to lead the team. And some of the names that I thought you could have brought in, again, don't shoot me. I'm just thinking about guys that have won. You have a Gruden. You have a Bruce Arians. You have a Mike Tomlin. After seeing
two of those first three, I am completely on board. On board.
Right? It's like, but they came out and just hammered the Buffalo Bills for firing the coach. Can you really see them sitting down and having an interview with the owner and GM after they just blasted him for getting rid of Sean? So I don't know.
I didn't hear Gruden. I didn't hear Gruden
name either. But I was just throwing out past coaches that still want to coach, that's led their teams and won a Super Bowl. Gruden has been in this environment of taking over for a guy that was beloved, won a lot of football games, couldn't get you over the hump.
Yep. Thick skin. I would take Gruden. I'm not a Gruden fan, but I would take him because I think he just doesn't care. Remember I said that dog? That's that dog in Gruden. The guy that I would love to have would be Zach Robinson.
Zach Robinson,
I think as a rookie head coach, but I think he's got the stones and he's got the offensive genius to him. Here's the other thing, and then we got to wrap this up. But here's the other thing. You should follow the playbook of Andy Reid. What do I mean by that? You bring in a offensive-minded guy who will be calling the plays on offense. He gets along with Josh. They see eye to eye. He's creative. He's innovative. All of that good stuff. On the defensive side of the ball, you get a veteran defensive coordinator who has no aspirations like a Steve Spagnuolo to become a head coach. He just wants to have his defense, leave him alone. We talked about John Gruden. What did John Gruden have? He had Monty Kiffin. Monty didn't want to be, but that was Monty's defense. John, you stay on your side of the house. I'll stay on my side of the house. Don't bother me. Let me run it. That's what the Bills need to do. You have two factions. Obviously, the one is going to be the overall, and he's going to be your play caller. So you could bring in a young OC. You could bring in guy names are just passing me by. I can't think of some of the names. But you bring in a younger guy that has aspirations to be, a coach, a head coach, an OC, or what have you. and let him groom, like a Eric Bieniemy, like a Matt Nagy in Kansas City. They didn't do the play calling, but they learned from Andy Reid. And it also gave them the cachet so that they could be hired for head coaching jobs. Nagy, Chicago, Bieniemy was on his way with Washington, but never happened, right? So you have those things. That's what you do. Lewis mentioned Kubiak, Clint Kubiak. There's somebody, but he's ready to make that jump. And yeah, I would think about him, but I'd be a little worried. I would be a little worried. But he's in my top 5. I put it like that. But keep the separation. What do they say? Separation of church and state? It would be the separation of offense and defense. Get that guy on defense. He's like, nope, don't want. I was going to say something. You know, again, when you get old, certain things start going through your head, right? I'm just going to say something, and I want you to fill in who said that. You want a guy who has never sat in that chair, so that when you stand in front,
our man is making a comeback. Hugh Jackson.
Yes, a little bit of Hugh Jackson.
For the folks that are still out there and maybe new, Hugh Jackson, for our first 3 years doing the podcast, Hugh was the coach of the Browns, and he left us so many memories that we pull apart. And so every once in a while we get to reference Hugh Jackson. And today just happened to be one of those random episodes where we kind of keep the spirit of Hugh Jackson alive. And that's a reference to a Hard Knocks episode that Vince is referring to. Where he had Todd Haley and was it Greg Williams? No,
I can't think of the other guy.
Who the defensive coordinator was, and I think they were both head coaches at some point in their career. I mean, Todd Haley was with the Chiefs. Obviously, we don't remember who the DC was there.
Yeah.
And so when you sit in this seat, when you're a head coach and you sit in this seat, and oh my God, like, do you not know who you're sitting next to? They might not have been successful head coaches. Right, but head coaches nonetheless. Hugh giving us the sound bites over and over. You just
it was so good. It was so good. Oh man, we go back. I mean, it's for everybody to know we go back. And then he promptly went 0-16 or something like that.
I don't think that was. Yeah, maybe it was the 0-16 year.
Oh, he was special.
Yeah.
He
special is the word. Special is the word.
Oh man. Okay. All right. Well, that's going to wrap this one up. Again, thank you, everybody. I apologize for the meltdown. There will be another meltdown. So if you want to see exciting, just a podcaster that loses it, tune into next Wednesday's episode as the world turns with the Buffalo Bills continues part 2 of this saga. And Terry, I'm not done with you. I am not done with you. And Brandon, I haven't started with you. That's going to be coming up on the next one. Will be how we talk about Brandon Beane. The snake, Stevie D. The rat goes to Terry. The snake goes to Brandon Beane.
Ooh, I like that.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap this one up. We want to thank everybody. We didn't give I guess we did give predictions, right? Real quick, we got Seattle over the Rams, and we have the Patriots over the Broncos.
I'm glad you said it. I'm just not in my head.
He's the one that told me to say it. All right. Former co-host.
What a rat! You're a snake in the grass.
All right. Former co-host Stevie D. I'm Vince. We'll talk to you soon.